Why, hello, veterans, DKV employees, everybody watching. Welcome to 2026. Here we are, a brand new year. First video here at Veteran Lang for 2026 here at Lang's Legal. As always, I'm your friendly VA accredited attorney, Matthew Lang, here to talk about VA disability. Now, before I get into that, let's talk about New Year's resolutions. Everybody's favorite time of the year, right? Myself personally, I'm going to see if I can't get past my own disabilities a little bit better here and take off a little bit of this weight. We'll see how that goes. I want to feel good. I want to feel better, actually. I already feel good, but I want to feel better. But outside of that, let's talk what we're going to do for you here, what I'm going to do for you. The team here at Lang's Legal, our ultimate goal is for this year to make things easier for you veterans than what we already have. Our ultimate goal has always been that. But our resolution is going to be to provide you with additional services that, well, hopefully take even more stress off the claim process for you, if we possibly can do that, and to make your claim process easier, not only for you veterans, but for VA. Our resolution is just that as well. We want to make sure that everything is packaged even tighter than we already do, which is fairly tight. When it comes to evidence and everything is identified and ready to go, because VA, you got a lot of claims to get through. Well, we understand that. And with our knowledge back here, we can really help you help the veteran. So that's what we want to do. That's our resolution. Now, on top of that, resolution is also to provide you with more educational videos for this platform. And then potentially, maybe even somewhere down the year, we're going to open up another platform where we can get more opinionated with stuff. And I tend to be a very opinionated person, and I suppose that comes with the job. So I'm going to give you that resolution there. I'm going to try not to be too opinionated or overly opinionated or fall on too many soapboxes here when it comes to these videos. We're going to focus on the education a little bit more. We're going to provide you maybe even a little bit more shorts, YouTube shorts here, so you can get some quicker shots at some information really quick, if that's all you need, instead of watching perhaps even the entire length of all these videos. So those are my resolutions to you, veterans and dedicated VA employees, is we want to improve ourselves by helping you, whether you're VA or whether you're veteran, in every way we possibly can. Keeping things smooth. Work smarter, not harder, right? All right, here's what we got for you. First video, I'm going to take myself here in a moment, and I'm going to just shrink myself down in the screen, and I'm going to show you my screen here that I have in the background. Why am I going to do this? Because I want to show you something I haven't showed you yet. So let's go ahead and let's just get into it. Let's just squish me down, put me down in the corner just like so. Okay. Drink a coffee as we get smaller. All right, I think I'm there by now. If I'm not, boy, I better get better at editing these videos. All right, here's what you're seeing should see on the screen at this point and are seeing. We are actually in the M21-4. Now, we've talked about the M21-1 before. Now, remember, this is all public information. I am on a computer hooked to the internet. I am not behind any VA VPN, firewall, anything. This is all public. So, veterans, if you want to see the guidelines and the information that's being shared with the VA and how they're supposed to do things, it's out there for you. It's out there. Now, I do caution that there are a lot of stuff in here that veterans you may not make total sense of because of acronyms used, information used, internal information that would be kind of discussed still in the external public piece of this. But don't let that bother you. Go through, kind of pick out the stuff that is, well, it's all important, but is not just based on internal acronyms and analogies and stuff. So that's what we're going to do here today. So we went into the M21-4. This is Chapter 6, Appendix B. Now, this is the RVSR task-based quality review checklist. So VA's quality is task-based. I think task-based has its ups and downs, its positives, its negatives, how pros, cons, however you want to look at that. But we're going to not really get into that. We're just going to look at what this is on the surface and try to understand how it might be used or is being used in the VA. Now, before I forget, I'm going to put the link again in the description of the video so everybody has it again. But this is knowva.ebenefits.va.gov. This is that public website with all these manuals and all these references out there. Again, knowva.ebenefits.va.gov. M21-4, Chapter 6, Appendix B. Now, keep in mind, there are other checklists in here for other positions like VSR and all that, but we're going to focus in on the RVSR one. RVSR, let's recap what that is. An RVSR is a Rating Veterans Service Representative. This is your rater, your rating specialist, or what other term might be used, decision maker, so forth. But no, RVSR is the acronym that is official and is used here in the reference. The RVSR, for those who don't know, is your first line decision maker, ultimately. This is the person who is ultimately responsible for new claim decisions. When you file claims for increased veterans, this is the person who will decide that. And for the most part, if not always, a supplemental claim. The RVSR will be the one who will decide all those. Now, yes, there's always exceptions. It could be a supervisor, it could be a DRO, but for the most part, that's what the RVSR is, and that's who they are, and that's who's going to be making those decisions, typically for a new claim, increased claim, supplemental claim. When they make these decisions, not only do they have their production standards that we have talked about a little briefly, and of course we'll get there more, but they also have this quality standard they must meet. It is task-based, as it shows here on the screen. It is task-based. Tasking being, was the task complete? I think the concern here is it may or may not in many cases, and this is, I'll leave up to you for this video, address really was the legal decision without legal error. All right, because I'm not going to give opinions, I'm going to leave that alone. We'll talk about that another time, probably in a different platform. But let me show you the checklist here. And as I do, remember change date is right here, April 18th, 2025 for this one. So this is when it was last updated. Something was changed in it. Sentence, a word, whole paragraph, whole section, whatever it may be. This is current as of April 18th, 2025. This says it as a sample. So this is a sample. Being a sample, this may not be, and probably is not, from experience, the same checklist that is being used. And it could be. But the idea here is well, just that, an idea. To give you an idea, veterans and dedicated employees who may not have seen the full checklist or need a refresher on all this, this is kind of what we're looking at when it comes to task-based quality. And this is what's in the M21-4. It's going to ask a series of questions. We're going to start with this question here. Were all claims all claims issued, addressed, and decided? Were all claimed issues addressed or decided? Let me slow down and say that again. Boy, sometimes I get overexcited about this stuff and I feel like my mind is moving faster than my lips. The answer is yes, no, in A. Error description. So we go from the question, we go from answering the question when it comes to the task. The task is were all claimed issues addressed and decided. And here's an idea of what some of those errors are in that description. So it's kind of like subcategories to the category, or sub-questions to the question, really. In this case, we've got a claim for service connection was received but not addressed or decided. So this is talking about service connection claim. I think as we go down here, we're going to see a claim for secondary service connection, increase evaluation, IU. Essentially what it comes down to is it's really laying out the various different types of claimed issues or types of theories, in this case, like service connection, secondary service connection. And I kind of feel like that this is all really the same question, but I think we get the idea. It's really trying to break it apart, like, was this requested and was it addressed? We're going to find in here a lot of other stuff here too, for like SMC. We've got the housing allowance issues here. We've got the education assistance here. We've got paragraphs for convalescence, hospitalization, and so forth. So the idea is to look at really every angle that a claim was made, and was that claimed issue addressed ultimately. You can look at this again, it's all public. I'm going to scroll down here for the next question, kind of give you an idea of what this looks like here. We're all inferred and or ancillary issues addressed. Now, inferred is things like what the VA would consider in scope. You're going to see right here on the first sub-question here is like nerve involvement due to the back. The most common one is probably that one right there, and it's really built into their DBQs as well. So what they're going to look for is veterans, when you say, for example, claim a back condition, they're going to look to see if there's radiculopathy, sciatica, so forth. That's also associated with that. So even though you didn't claim that, say perhaps in this case you didn't claim that, you only claimed your back, and it shows up on that DBQ, VA is responsible for addressing that issue. It's really kind of inferred at this point. And it's picked up. Now you also have ancillary benefits. In here, things again like the DEA, the Dependents Educational Assistance, was not addressed. So this would be something like veterans, you hit 100% permanent and total, for example. Did the VA remember to address this benefit, this education benefit? Did they grant it like they were supposed to? Well, it just says addressed, not really granted or did not, but whether it's addressed, that's the point there. So then you got some times where like special monthly compensation is automatic. So the most common one I always see in the VA, and we still see back here, is veterans, maybe you have, well, for our male veterans out there, an erectile dysfunction associated with diabetes, prostate cancer, PTSD, or some other known condition to cause that issue or aggravate it. The idea here is that an SMCK for loss of use of a creative organ would be part of that claim. So the question being is, did the VA pick up that additional piece from the claim when they, say, granted erectile dysfunction, ED? That's what we're looking at here. There's a few different things in here. I'm not going to get in deep detail with these. These are just different benefits. I think what is great about also the checklist is veterans and VA, it really gets you kind of thinking about, oh, wait, I didn't know this was a benefit, like auto-adaptive equipment. When does that come into play? And we can talk about all that down the road, but there's so many other things out there. You may not realize you file one claim, and before you know it, there's a whole snowball effect going on here of so many things in the background that have to be considered and have to be picked up, and that just may not be known to claim. So there you go. Those are the inferred ancillary ones. We got question 3 here. Again, we're seeing the same thing, right? The question, the yes or no, the error descriptions, was all necessary development to obtain all indicated evidence, excluding VA examination completed prior to deciding claims. Service treatment records, personal records are needed, is your first one. That's huge. That is really like step 1 of all claims. So veterans, whenever you got out of service and compared to whenever you filed that claim, whether it be the first claim or a secondary claim later on or supplemental claim of some sort, the question still remains, were all service treatment record, personnel records, or both, obtained as they were needed? Perhaps you get treatment at a VA hospital, clinic, or healthcare. You're inside the healthcare system somewhere. Did the VA properly obtain those records and upload them into your electronic file there, veterans? These are questions that have to be asked because, see, this is really kind of following into law that's hiding in the background. This is law that says, hey, that's in their custody. Those records are in their custody, and they are responsible for making sure those are uploaded correctly. They're also federal records. There's other rules for that too. Just like the service treatment records and personnel records may not be in the custody of the VA, but they are federal records, and they do have a duty to obtain those. You know, it's an older cup. Just a sidebar here. Thought it was kind of fun. Somebody gave it to me. Actually, I think it was my brother and my sister-in-law once for Christmas, and it's a coffee mug. It says, "I'm billing you for this conversation." And I think it's supposed to be a lawyer-based one, which is kind of nice. Gives some nutrition facts back there too. Shows you 110% caffeine in the back. That's what I feel like right now. Anyhow, that's a sidebar. We gotta have fun back here too. Let's get back to it though. So we're looking at again all this stuff here. Stuff like PTSD development is not completed. AO exposure, Agent Orange exposure development is not complete. Just some ideas here on what the VA's got to look for when it comes to development. So you're probably asking at this point, RVSR, but aren't they deciding the claim? Why is development being questioned here in an RVSR checklist? Well, the RVSR position is to, make sure that the VSR did their job correctly as well. Make sure that all the development was attained, because if the development wasn't done right, the duties to assist, notify, all those other legal requirements out there that we are arguing constantly every day back here are not completed, well, the decision should not be made and should be ultimately sent back to have all those legal errors corrected prior to having a decision generated or made. So that means that RVSR is also responsible for that development as well as that BSR. We were always taught that the last person to touch the file was ultimately responsible for everything in that file, even previous decisions. So I think that's where that comes from here, making sure that they double checked everything. It's supposed to be a checks and balance kind of feel in my mind. Number 4 here, were all necessary examinations, medical opinions requested and sufficient. Again, you get your yes, no, your NA, and you're getting your error description here. VA examination was needed but was not requested. VA medical opinion was needed but not requested. The VA examination was insufficient. Necessary information is missing, or the e-folder not reviewed when required. The VA medical opinion was insufficient. Opinion was requested but not provided, or the e-folder not reviewed when required. Again, I got a lot of opinions the way some of these are written. I think some of them are a little off point, but we're not going to get into that. The idea here is we're looking at to see if all the exams were done and they were done correctly, including opinions. And then we kind of go down our checklist here of what they've put here. Oh, we even see down here some over development issues down here. This one's huge. I'm surprised at least. Sorry, no opinions. Aggravation was not addressed in the examination when required. That happens 99% of the time in the appeals we see. So, yeah, we'll leave it alone. Number 5 was the grant of all issues correct. Service connection was not warranted but was established. Service connection is not warranted for a symptom or lab finding. Ooh. There is a legal error in the way this is written. That's an outdate. So hopefully they're not using the actual question. I'm sorry. I'm kind of reading this the sample one, first time with you guys on this video. Be careful, VA. Be careful. Yeah, when you look at the sample, I'm really hoping it's not in your one here. Service connection is not warranted for a symptom or a lab finding. It shows pain. Guys, we argue this all the time back here. Federal Circuit has stated that pain in and itself, for especially joint conditions, can be a diagnosis. So ultimately that symptom is the diagnosis underneath a series of rules and processes and elements underneath that case. But do understand the straight up saying that pain is not warranted as a symptom is incorrect underneath the law. That's a fascinating one here, but it was not always that way. The case law had changed it over the years, but yeah, be careful. Not everything in these manuals are legally accurate, unfortunately. But anyhow, just take the point though, right? Were all the issues granted correctly, if they were granted. Of course, we're going to get were all the issues, denials, all correct, so forth. This is a big one here, actually, we see all the time. This is almost never done right. Service connection was warranted for an undiagnosed illness, but it wasn't granted. I argue that one quite often too. So it's definitely got some good stuff in it. It points out we got some old school terminology in this sample for an update that was in 2025. Kind of surprised that these terminologies that aren't really in play anymore are still in here, but I think you still get the point though. It's just a sample. It's supposed to give you the idea of this here, how it all works when it comes to the quality. So we can keep going through these questions. I could bore you to death, but I'm not here to do that for you. I wanted to give you just the basic outlook. These are similar sample questions, I imagine, that are on the quality sheets today when the quality checklists are done. Remember, again, it is task-based. I'm just going to kind of keep scrolling as I'm talking here, but free of other deficiencies and what those deficiencies may be, and it just keeps going. Deferral-specific questions, system compliance questions, correctable comments, These would typically not be an error. Just a little comment, and they're saying it wasn't egregious enough to be an error. So you can kind of see what those are too. We get down here in instructions and guidelines for RVSR's reviews. I'm going to leave that one alone today. The idea here was the sample checklist here. I want to give you the public, veterans, and VA kind of a look at what's in the M21.4 here, and an idea of what it may look like to review quality, especially on an RVSR. So that's a checklist. That's all it is, a checklist. They go down, they answer the questions, they click yes, no, they go through the sub-questions, they mark it off as necessary, and there you go. So at this point, let's blow me back up. Make me a full screen again. All right, I'm hoping by now I figured that one out. Here we are. Yeah, so there you go, veterans. This is all, again, public. This is straight internet. There's so much information out there. Let me help you navigate some of it. Now, like I've said multiple times, you can do this on your own. You're definitely able to do a claim on your own. But if anytime you need help, you're stressed out by the process, something's not making sense, you feel like you've given the VA everything that they need and they still don't want to do it right, there's help out there. VSOs, VA accredited attorneys like myself, VA accredited agents as well. I highly recommend you find somebody who's accredited to help you. I see so many veterans back here that come in and say, I went to such and such who's not accredited, they stole all my money and they want a bunch more money from me, and they did nothing but me a couple percent or nothing at all. So like 10% is all I got, or got nothing at all, and their case is ultimately much worse than that, and they should have got a lot higher. So just be cautious, be careful. I highly recommend accredited agent, attorney, or a VSO. Now, with that in mind, let me give you my self-plug really quick, and you can turn me off right here if you want, or check me out. Veteranlane.com is where I have my calendar. Check that out. We're going to try to update that over the year too. We've got some information here, links to the YouTube stuff and all that. Share it with the buddies, share it with friends, share it with family who may be contemplating a claim. Let's get the information out there. Let them understand how to get started, at least, maybe some of the stuff that they may go through here, and places where to look. And if they decide they need me, or they want to talk with me to see if they want representation, or that's something that we can work out, then veteranlane.com. Get to my calendar. It's a new year. Get on there before it fills up. So, all right, veterans, AKV employees, there we are. First video of 2026 done. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk so much more about VA disability this year than we have last year, so buckle in because it's going to get fun. I'll see you next video.